Hey YouTube, Joel from Two Brothers Tactical. So I talk a lot about me being at the reloading bench when we do reviews and things like that, so I figured let's put a short video together on reloading. Pros and cons. Some of the pros would be that it is cost effective once you have the equipment. And that's part of the con, is buying some of the equipment you're going to need does get to be on the pricey side. So some of the things that you're going to need to start with if this is your first time reloading, obviously I would imagine that most of the people that are going to find this informational are people that are looking to get into reloading. So the first thing you're going to need is obviously a press. I have a Hornady progressive press. You don't need a progressive press, but I just find it makes my life easier. You're going to need a scale, something to measure your cases with, whether it be a sizer that's already set, or a digital caliper, something of that extent. A good idea would be to have a reloading book, whether it's Lyman or Hornady, anybody. They're all fairly good books to reference to get some of your information from. You're going to need a die set, and we're going to go over that in a minute. Primers, powder, obviously. So just some of the things you need. Some of the things with primers that make it easy is a little primer tray like this. You set them in and shake them, and you can load them into your tube relatively easy. So bullets, you know, there are so many different variations of what you want. Normally pistol rounds that I'm reloading, I'll just use a Berry's plated. I use them for just about every pistol round I reload. Hornady has some really good stuff. Sometimes you'll get deals on these. They're a jacketed hollow point. So it really all depends on what you're looking to reload and how you're looking to do it. Rifle is a little different. You can do them on this press, but I personally prefer, especially if it's going to be hunting ammunition, I prefer to be a little bit more precise with that than I do with just target ammo I'm going to be using outside out of pistols. So moving on to die sets. These come in just about any caliber that you want to reload. They're going to come with a shell plate. They're going to come with an expanding die, which also pushes your primer out. They're going to come with a sizing die and a crimping die. The crimping die is adjustable for different sets. Say you have 38, 357, same exact die set, it's just going to be different depths on the die itself and on your machine. One thing you don't have to get, but I do recommend it, would be a powder cop die. And what this does is when the case comes in here after your powder stage, inside the casing the powder would be laying in, and what it would do is it push that popper up just a little bit. Now, say your average or what you're loading comes up that much. You would know that if it doesn't come up at all, you have no charge. And if it comes up that much, you know you might have a double charge. So it's a visual check on what your powder drop actually dropped down into the casing. So, you know, I use many different kinds of primers. I use basically the same kind of bullet. Like I said, pistol rounds, I really only stick with that Berry's plated. You do want to keep your machine clean. There are a couple different lubrication points on it. These retaining springs for your shell plates, as you can see, this one's a little bit dinged up, but it's still usable. You replace them, they're relatively cheap. They go around your shell holder at the bottom to hold your casing to the shell. This isn't going to be so much actually reloading. If that's something you guys want to see, by all means leave it in the comment, email us, and we will definitely do a video on that. But this is just a general overview for people that may be thinking about it and they're not really sure. Don't be afraid. It's involved, but as long as you follow what's in the book and you don't become a home scientist, it's pretty harmless. You know, you just have to be very diligent and careful when you're loading these cases, especially with the powders. Moving on to powders. I have currently 7 different powders that I'm loading. I normally stick to just 4 that I use on a regular basis. The other 3 I've just played with and tried different things. As per a reloading book, you can use different kinds of powders to obtain different speeds on the projectile. So that's just some of the things that I personally mess with a little bit here and there. Not so much the charge, but the different types of powders. I really don't vary on too many things because I don't like accidents, and it can get to be a little edgy if you try to push limits. These books here, when you start reloading, there's numbers here. I just opened up a page, 357 sig. Now, I don't think you guys are going to be able to see the numbers, but if you could see the red marks, and they're kind of staggered, these are for different feet per second, each column. These are different powders. And what this is letting you know is do not load more than that red mark. When you start loading past that red mark, that's the danger zone, and you can really worry about something going really, really wrong. So even though, you know, they have these, I never push to that red mark on any powder. I usually just try and stay a little bit under it. And a matter of fact, normally if I'm loading target loads, for the most part, is what a lot comes out of this machine. It's for the backyard, it's target use. All I'm looking for is factory specifications on target loads, whether it be Remington ball, you know, Winchester white box, it doesn't matter. As long as it's a factory specification, if it says 900 feet per second, I come through here, I see what powder I want to use, and I say, okay, I need X amount of powder to obtain that speed out of that powder. You can get into other tools, bullet pullers, stuff like this. They do come in handy. It's not a necessity, but if you're reloading enough and something does get a little messed up when you're loading on your press, it does come in handy. It comes with a couple different die sets that you can put in here for different size casings. So that works out well, and all you really want to do is just get yourself a nice solid piece of wood after the casing is in here and give it a few good shots. Bullet comes out, powder comes out, case and primer stay right back here. Primers, again, I use very large, more or less large, I should say, variety of primers. I have everything CCI, Federal, Winchester. Most of your main manufacturers. Now, I will say that for me personally on this press, the Winchester primers don't seem to seat as well as the Federal or the CCI. So I do try and stick with either the CCI or the Federal. My Federal is actually my #1 go-to because it does seem to seat the best and work the best in my casings on what I'm loading here. This particular machine, it is a progressive press, excuse me. So what that means is with every time you pull the handle, there's a cam inside, and the cam rotates the shell plate. And what that does is it'll take it from the first stage of pushing the primer out to the next stage. When that shell moves over, you would push the handle back up, it seats the primer, and you would continue back and forward all the way on every case all the way around. And what you'd work with would be the expanding die, and that also removes the primer. Then it would move on to the sizing die. From there, it would go to your powder. Then it would come to your powder cop die, and finally it would come to your crimping die. After the crimping die, it just simply comes out, chunk, lands in the tray, nice and handy, they don't fly all over the floor, and you can do this process. Normally, I can get probably about a little more than a box of ammunition every half hour. So figure roughly on average, when you get pretty good with this, you're going to do probably more than that. I would say a safe bet, figure on 2 to 3 boxes of ammunition per hour, and that's really, really, really taking your time. That's watching everything, which is what you should be doing. Can it be done faster? Obviously, 100%, but I'd rather take a little bit more time and not have to worry that something was off or I missed something than worry, uh-oh, now I have to take all these back apart. So you want a couple things like that. Next thing I could talk about a little bit is they do have case lubes for these. When you get these die sets, you do want to use a dry lube, and Hornady does sell a dry lube that you can use on them. Works very well. But just basics of reloading. Again, if it's something you're looking to get into, it is going to cost you a little bit to get rolling. But once you do, it does save you money. You know, I would say close to 40 to 60% savings of what you would buy a box of ammunition for. So at some point, the cost of the machine does offset it. and it's worth it. Now this machine here, this does come, or they do offer an electric motor for shell casings and a bullet drop. I haven't gotten into it. I'm okay with this for now, but it would make things a little bit easier. You don't have to put the case in manually. You don't have to seat the bullet manually with your fingers. It would just do it on its own, and all you have to do is just crank the handle. So all in all, it's a good machine. I like it. I haven't had any issues with it. I've had this machine now for, I want to say, about 7 years, maybe 8, and I haven't had any issues with it. You keep it greased, you keep it clean, it keeps right on running. So as far as that goes, that's very basic overview of reloading. If it's something you're looking to get into, by all means, look into it, look into the cost, because that, again, the starting cost is a little bit of a con, but once you start and you have all your stuff, the reloading itself is cheaper. It's really nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to sit back and say, oh, I can't do that. You can. Just take your time, read your books, make sure your numbers are the same, make sure everything is set. And once you're good, you know, every 5th or 6th round, I just check. I'll pull the casing out and I'll throw it on the scale, dump the powder in it, and make sure that the charge is correct. Even though the powder cop die is here, this isn't a measurement. This is just a visual indicator of no charge, a single charge, or a double charge. That's all that's for. That's all I use it for. So I hope you guys like the video. There's not too much more I can add at this point. If you guys do want to do an in-depth reloading video, by all means, let us know, and I will be more than willing to sit down and go through an in-depth on this, because it is a fun process. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like and share it, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.